Hey everybody, this is your host, Bill, and you're listening to the Late to Grid podcast. This is a podcast about motorsports and getting on track. I interview the guys and gals who work hard all week to be weekend warriors. I also interview professionals in the motorsports community that can help you and your racing. If you are involved with SCCA, NASA, track days, HPDE events, or endurance racing, this is the show for you. My goal is to share the stories and inspiration that will grow our sport. For this episode, I repurposed a recent Facebook Live we did for Track Night in America. I invited Brandon Anderson, Marlon Sumlin, and Matt Harbert to talk about Track Night in America and share ideas on how to make the most out of being at the track. So here we go. All right, well, we're going to kick this off, and we are recording it so that we can, we'll make it available on the Late to Grid podcast as well. But for the folks that are here, thanks very much for joining us. This is I'm Bill Snow. I'm the host of the Late to Grid podcast. I'm also with Radar Complete Car Care. And around the horn to my left, we have Matt Harbert, who's a technician with Radar, who is going to walk us through teching your car later. We also have Brandon Anderson. Brandon, you can wave. And then he's a volunteer, longtime, huge volunteer with the SCCA. And then we have Marlon Sumlin, who's if you've been around the track, you know Marlon, and he's going to talk about how to make the most of your track day experience. So what we're going to do is, so now everybody can see everybody at the same time. So one of the reasons why we decided to put this together is so Radar Complete Car Care, we will have some motorsports projects we work on throughout the season. And we have folks that come to us that ask, how do I learn a little bit more about getting my car on track? What's the best first step I should take? I want to move from autocross to track days or from HPDE to something a little bit more. And we thought it'd be a great idea to sort of talk a little bit more about Track Night in America, answer some questions, have some experts on to get folks comfortable with the next step. And in just over a week, the next Track Night in America in this region, which is Northeast Ohio, is going to be at the Nelson Ledges Road Course in Garrettsville, Ohio. So although this is applicable to all Track Night in America events, we want to talk specifically about some things coming up too here at the Nelson Ledges event. And if you have questions, put them in the Facebook Live. We'll be answering those towards the end, and if we can, as we go along. So thanks very much for being here. And again, we're going to turn this into a podcast for the Late to Grid podcast so folks can listen to it almost forever. So with that, we're going to have Brandon Anderson. Brandon, if you just want to talk a little bit more about your track experience, your Track Night in America experience as well, and then walk the viewers through what they can expect when how do they register, and then what can they expect when they arrive at the track?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Bill. I appreciate you for hosting this. Just a little bit about Track Night in general. For those who don't know, it's a program that was hosted by SCCA, started 2017, 2018. It's really designed for the person that can't commit to a full weekend, either time commitment or cost commitment of like an HPDE or that type of driving. Track night's not racing. It's just track time. It's seat time. You get a full hour broken up in 3 sessions. So you get your 20-minute sessions and then a break and then a 20-minute session and a break, that type of flow through the event. But like I said, you get that full hour, which is a little less than what you get at a HPDE event, but it's in the evening. So you can come in, have half a day of work, and then the other half of the day be at the racetrack. So it's really designed for those people who, have never been on track before and want that, like you said, that step from autocross into track driving, or just don't have the time or the financial means. It's a much lower entry cost wise, consumables, tires, fuel, that type of thing. And like I said, with it being in the afternoon, go to work, take half a day, head over to the racetrack, and then, just drive to the track and, do 60 minutes of track time. So it's a really good event as far as that goes. One thing specific is it is designed for street cars only. So it is for someone who, wants to drive their Porsche Cayman or their Honda Civic or, their Saab station wagon, whatever it may be, to the track, and do some track time and then kind of hang out with some friends, meet some people, and head home. So one thing that separates the Track Night in America from other HPDEs is we have the Coney Novice Experience. This year, Coney's our big sponsor for the events, and in that it's for someone who's never been on track before, or who has but limited experience. And so we talk about simple things like flags. What do the flags mean? What do I do if I see a flag? How do I interact with other drivers on track? Because you're not racing, but you are on track with other drivers. You may be faster, you may be slower than other drivers. So we talk about, that on-track awareness, where the corner stands are, that type of thing. We go through all of that. One thing that is a little different with the Coney Novice Experience is we don't have right seat instructors. So you're in the car alone. Passengers are not allowed during hot sessions. We do tour laps, and then anybody can go out in a tour lap, no helmets, take the whole kit, take kids, wife, husbands, everybody out in the minivan, and go do some paced, slower laps. But they're all welcome as well. But with it not having any right seat instruction, the cost is significantly lower than what you would have to get for an HPDE. And that all depends on, the track. Every track has a different price, but we'll talk about that here in a second, like how you can see what that cost is going to be to you and the different options. But overall, it's a very simple, laid back, relaxed event, and they're all over the country. So you might be asking yourselves, well, this sounds cool. How do I do it? What do I do? So it's very simple. All registrations are done online at tracknightinamerica.com. You can just either Google it or Bing it or whatever search engine of your preferences. Tracknightinamerica.com. There's a section down at the bottom called upcoming events. All you do is you type in your zip code and then how far away you want to go. If you're willing to drive 500 miles, put 500 miles in there. If you want to stay close to home and 50 or 100 miles, you can choose that as well. So for me, and since I type in a Cleveland zip code and I get the next event is next week, June 22nd at Nelson Ledges. If I click on that, it gives me all the options of what I can do with that event. I can add it to my calendar, I can register, and it gives me all of the specifics for that particular event. Again, that's all the events, not just, I'm using Nelson as an example. So once you do get to that site and you find the event you want to do, just hit the register button. It's pretty simple to go through. One thing, again, with Track Night that may be a little different than other events is that you self-select your driver group. If you have never been on track before ever, you should select novice, obviously. If you have been on track, a few times and, you're not really comfortable coming out of novice, stay a novice. That's okay. Like, we would prefer you to be in a group that you're more comfortable in, all the way up intermediate, advanced. And then we do actually offer some other run work or work groups, and then tour laps. So if you just want to show up and kind of hang out, if you've never been to an event before and you want to just see how it is ran, you want to get a feel for it and see if it's something you want to come back to, sign up for the tour laps. You just put your name in there, sign up, and then we'll get you gridded up at tour lap time and go out and do 15 minutes of just lapping around a track. Like I said, no helmet, no safety gear required, low speed. You can bring your children as long as they're, I believe, 12 years old and older.
That explains why the last time we were at Nelson and Track Night was going on, I noticed some people were gridding up with no helmet on, and I thought, oh, what's this all about? So that must have been what they were doing, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is. We try to encourage everybody to come out. Like, if you live close to Sonoma and you see a track night on the schedule and you've never driven the track, sign up for tour laps and go drive the track. It's free. All it costs is your consumables to get there and your consumables to get home. And you get to meet other participants, talk to them, and I'm almost positive that one of them, or if not all of them, will highly recommend that you sign up next time as a driver.
Yeah, that's cool.
But you don't need anything specific really outside of that. You have to have a helmet. That is one thing that's not provided by most regions. Some regions do, but if they do provide loaner helmets, they will have it in the description of the event. But plan on bringing a helmet. Anything that's Snell related is acceptable. And I think Marlon will probably likely talk about this a little bit later, what to pack and what type of helmets are acceptable. But anything M 2010 or SA 2010, DOT helmets are not acceptable. Your typical motorcycle helmet, if it's not a Snell rated helmet. But once you click register, you go through, you fill it out, you pick your driver group. You have to fill out some track experience. It's a drop down box and say, how comfortable are you on track? It's very simple. And then there's a section there. How did you hear about track night? You can click other and just type in Late to Grid podcast. That looks good on us.
Thanks for the plug.
But then also one of the big things is that it's very, very different from track night is there are coupon codes that come out, whether it's sponsored by SCCA or sponsored by Coney or Haggerty or whomever it may be. There's definitely coupon codes, and anywhere from $25 to $50 off, depending on the caveats of the coupon code itself. So if you register for any June, July, or August event, the current coupon code is STICKIT22, STICKIT22, STICKIT22. The whole idea is we're sticking it to the fuel prices because they're astronomical right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that'll get you $25 off any registration for the next 3 months. And then after that, if you're listening to this in 2023, you can go to the Track Night in America website and then click news. And they generally post the coupon codes on there. It does take a little bit of effort to find it. And also watch your email. If you subscribe to the Track Night emails, they'll send the coupon codes out, but definitely recommend that. And once you get to the event, it's pretty laid back. You sign the waiver once you get there, get your wristband, get checked in. Depending on your run group, if you're novice, we'll separate the novices into the Coney experience. You'll meet your instructor. Instructors always do a really good job with bringing up to speed new drivers, people have never been on track before. So definitely get there with a good attitude, relaxed. It's not a high stress environment. It's if you have questions, anybody there, even participants, will likely be able to help you. Just find a stranger, ask them, hey, I'm looking, what do I need to do? Where do I need to go? No, they'll point you where you can go. And one thing that I think is really important to call out on track night events that most other events don't do, I've actually never heard of this on any other event, is let's say you show up and you do the first session and you have something with your car that you're just not expecting, or something that you want to get looked at, you're not comfortable. What we can do is go find the event lead and say, hey, here's the situation, whatever it may be. If it's a car issue or a family emergency, or you start feeling unwell, whatever it may be, find the participant or the event chair, let them know what's going on, and we can actually credit you the run sessions that you did not take. So show up in an event, and if it's not for you, so you get there and you do one session, you go, nope, no thank you, I am not a fan of this, but you have a friend that is, you can then transfer that credit to them. So
wow.
It's very different than most other events. It's, like I said, really laid back, and the goal is to get as many people on track as possible, but in a way that makes them comfortable without pushing people beyond their limits. So it's highly recommend it. And for any of you that are listening or watching that are interested, we do have the next event as far as the Neohio region goes on June 22nd. That's next Wednesday. I would recommend registering very quickly because we're already almost at capacity for at least our novice and intermediate run groups. I think advanced, we have a little bit of room left, but I would definitely register sooner than later. And like I said, if you register and something comes up, email us. We can definitely transfer that registration to another event.
Wow. Doesn't get much easier than that, does it?
It's super easy. Like I said, it's laid back, and the whole idea is just come hang out. If you don't want to drive, come do the tour laps. If you want to get more involved, come volunteer. So,
one thing I noticed at the last event you had, there was no question about what was next. It was the day was very smooth. The PA announcement was very clear. When the group came back, when they parked their cars, because we were paddocked next to a few of them, they knew, listen, I have 5 minutes and then I got to be in the tech or the tower for my class or for my debrief. So if anyone's concerned about, man, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go, it's very clear. It's very straightforward on what's going on.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And one thing, once you go to register, you will get a schedule that's online. So you can pull that up online, but you also get a packet when you show up that has the schedule printed. It has the track map. It has any passing zones. It has everything you need to know for your on-track experience. You'll get that as soon as you register when you get there.
And what's your pro tip with the schedule?
Here, I love this. So what I like to do is print the schedule out ahead of time, and I have a little lanyard with a pouch in it, and I just print it out and I put it right in there. So I always have it on me. I don't have to worry about my phone. Don't have to worry about anything, and I can just take a quick peek. Yep. All right. I'm up in 20 minutes.
Yeah. There's your pro tip for the evening, folks. That's awesome.
We'll have one more or two.
So Brandon, was there anything else you want to talk about in terms of Track Night in America, what to expect, how to register?
No, other than I couldn't recommend it more. If you're on the fence, just come out. Don't register. Just come to the event and hang out. If you get there and then you decide, okay, there's a lot of cool cars here, there's a lot of cool people. Okay, I'm going to register. You can register on site. You do have to do it online, but as soon as you register, we get that notification and we can get you out on track. So if you're on the fence, just come hang out.
Right. What could be more fun than hanging at the track?
Yeah, exactly.
And Justin Barbie's made a couple of comments here. He shared a couple links on how to find the events, and then also mentioned here, if you register for the June 22nd Nelson Ledges event, you get a $25 coupon that can use towards the registration of the June 29th event at Pit Race. So if you're in the region, in the area, a way to save even some more money and try out a different track. Cool. Well, Brandon, thanks so much. Don't go anywhere because we may have some questions for you.
All right, it's time for our tech tip with Chris from LMS-EFI. And this week, we're talking about the benefits of E85 and an E85 tune. So, Chris, this is something you see all the time in the forums and people posting about. What does all this mean and what are the benefits?
Yeah, E85, in my opinion, is a great fuel. There are some downsides. It's hygroscopic. It will absorb water. So you have to be aware of that. And when you're setting up your fuel system, you're also going to run about 30% more fuel versus regular gasoline with E85. So again, in setting up your fuel system, you need pumps, injectors, and whatnot that are capable of supporting E85. It's probably not a fuel you want to use if you're an endurance racer, simply because the extra fuel that you would use. But the benefits are a much higher knock resistance than pump fuel. It's basically has the knock resistance of a good race gas. You're in the 110 octane range with E85. You also have the benefit of the E85 burning cooler. An engine will run cooler on E85 than it will on gasoline. So if you got an engine that likes to run hot anyway, there's some good benefit there. And then the big benefit is you can make more power with it. With turbo applications that we work with, the added octane allows you to run more boost and more timing, make more power. The really neat thing about ethanol and then its cousin methanol are that the actual BTU content per mass unit of the fuel is actually a little lower than gasoline, but the characteristics of the fuel and the lambda value of the fuel means that when you burn more of it per engine cycle, you actually can release more overall BTU content. So you make more power with ethanol. And even we just recently tuned a two-rotor normally aspirated rotary engine. And even on the NA motor, we made, it was about 5% more power with the ethanol than we did with pump gasoline. So runs cooler, makes more power. It's a lot cheaper than a real good 110 leaded fuel. So, what's not to like about it? So I always like to at least set up a flex fuel system when we're putting the system together from the start. So you can run ethanol, you can run gasoline, you can run any blend in between, just like the factory flex fuel systems. And there's basically what not to like about it.
Right. So if someone wants to talk to you more about getting an E85 tune on their vehicle, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah. Chris, CHRIS at LMS-EFI.com. Or you can give us a call, 502-515-7482. Look us up. The website is lms-efi.com.
Great. Thanks, Chris.
Next, we're going to have Matt Harbert, who's a technician and all-around good guy, talk You think that's funny? Talk a little bit about teching your car, what you need to look for, how to go around your car. It's not as complicated as you think. And when you get the track, you're going to need one of these. And these are on the Track Night in America webpage. There's 4 versions of this. 3 tracks have their own version. Everyone else uses the one I'm holding. And you self-tech your car. But Matt, why don't you kind of go around over the sheet and just sort of talk about what you look for as a technician, how you're looking to see if things are good in terms of steering and suspension and brakes.
Well, the biggest thing I look for is definitely when self-teching a car and stuff like that. It's safety. And that's the first thing right here on the sheet. It's driver safety. You know, like Brandon mentioned, a helmet, 2010 or newer, Snell, SFI, FIA, or Snell MSA. You know, and then you'll get a tech sticker for the helmet. Shoes must be solid, closed toe, and reasonable condition as well. You know, you don't want to be getting run over. Well, obviously, no, that won't happen. But you know, watch your toes, long pants as well. A big thing as far as the car goes, seat belts or harnesses, you know, have to be in good condition. They can't be ripped, can't be loose, stuff like that. If the car has a roll bar or anything like that, padding is a good thing. You know, you may not think about it, but if something were to happen, you start moving around in the car, you know, your head's going to hit it or arm might hit it. It's never any fun. And I guess another thing as far as safety is, you know, interior and trunk clear of anything that could be going around inside the car when you're going around track.
So before we move on, and Brandon, you might know this as well. So when you have a roll bar, so a roll bar is definitely required for, because the tech form is going to say a roll bar when it's required. Any open cockpit vehicle needs to have some sort of roll bar, whether it's factory or aftermarket. So the driver's helmet cannot stick above it, right?
That's correct. Yes. So we call that the broomstick test, or if you're in the car and imagine windshield and roll bar, as long as the helmet is below those. So if your roll bar is here and your windshield is here, you know, you're going to intersect. And so you have to make sure you're below a broomstick. A theoretical broomstick can go over the top of your helmet.
Great. Yeah.
And then just to say too, for convertibles, I'd have to go back and look at the actual rules. We can post this in the show notes, I believe, later or comment. But there's a specific year of convertible. It might be 2006, but any convertible newer than that is eligible for track night in America.
Without a roll bar.
Without a roll bar, correct.
Oh, that's good point. All right.
Yeah.
Because you and I just got nervous for a second. Both our convertibles fall outside of that. All right, Matt, why don't you move on and talk about brakes?
Well, another thing, you know, to check while you got the car up in the air, you know, and you don't have to have a lift to do this. You can do it right in your driveway with a jack stands. Yeah, it's nothing too crazy. Another thing to check, brakes, you know, is pad life okay? Make sure the fluid level's clean. Is pedal firm, you know, does everything feel okay? And then brake lights as well. You know, when you're out on track with other cars, you want to make sure that they're able to see that you're slowing down before a corner or anything like that. And there's no fluid leaks as well. You know, you get out on track, you hit the brakes, and a bunch of fluid goes out on track. That could cause a bunch of issues for not only yourself but everyone else.
Yeah.
And then as well as rotors as well. You know, a lot of people think, oh, rotors aren't, you know, I'm just worried about pad life. You want to make sure that the rotors aren't cracked, any major discoloration in them or anything like that.
The biggest thing that gets looked over or past as someone heads to a track day, whether it's Track Night in America or something else, are the brakes. So for your first outing, you're not going to be pushing it that hard. Maybe as long as your fluid's new and the brakes are in good shape, you'll probably be okay. If you start to get more aggressive as you do more and more events, you need to be thinking about pad upgrades and higher temperature brake fluid upgrades as well. And of course, if you ever have any questions about this kind of stuff, guys like Matt and I and Marlon and Brandon can certainly answer those questions for you.
Well, moving on, I guess the next thing while we're, you've got the wheel off and you're looking at the brakes, you could, now's a good time to be looking at your wheels and your tires. That's what keeps you on the ground. And, a big thing that people don't think about is whether or not all your lug nuts are present, they're torqued. That's a big thing that gets overlooked of, oh, I'll just gun them on and I'll be all right. Check the lug nut torque, drive it around, check it again. It doesn't, you may be like, oh, I don't want to do that. It takes time, but it's not, it takes about 5 minutes, and it's better than having an issue at the track. Hubcaps must be removed prior to the event as well. No cracks in the wheels or any structural damage as well. And then obviously adequate tire tread, no cords, anything like that, and dry rotting.
We like running corded tires. What's wrong with that?
Good to the last drop.
Yeah.
I guess moving on from tires and wheels is suspension and steering. Before you take the tire off to look at the brakes, I like to give the wheel a nice shake, front and down, up and down, and side to side. That's checking your wheel bearings. Make sure you don't have any play in that. Checking the ball joints. If they're greasable, it doesn't hurt to throw some grease in them. And as well as it checks all the steering components, making sure there's no play in that, and stuff like that. Shocks as well, it plays a big part. A lot of people have aftermarket shocks. Make sure they're not leaking or anything like that. And then moving on, engine and drivetrain, making sure all fluid levels are good, belts are in good condition, hoses, tighten all caps, and secure all hoses. We don't want to be leaking anything on the track, in the paddock, getting on people's tires, stuff like that. Obviously, the condition of your engine, transmission, all that stuff rely on the fluids and the levels. Another big thing that gets overlooked is, make sure the battery's secured. It's kind of one of those things, oh, it's inside the car in the engine bay, it's not going anywhere. Well, be surprised. No bungee cords. You can get, I'm fairly certain, some auto parts stores sell like the universal mounting kits or stuff like that. And to just get the battery secured, it's not nothing too crazy. And another thing going with the battery is battery terminals must be covered as well. You don't want something touching any of the terminals and arcing or shorting, and then you have an issue on track. And then depending on where you're at, I'm not sure if Nelson's has a sound limit for cars as well. I guess they do not.
No, they don't.
Exhaust system's functional, nothing hanging down. It's all secured properly. And depending on where you're at, may have to meet sound restrictions. And then as well as that, throttle, a lot of people with the newer cars, people might not think of it because it's the electronic throttle bodies and stuff like that. But over time, there's gunk and debris that gets up in the throttle body. You want to make sure that it's not going to get stuck open. And especially with the older cars and the throttle cables, you want to make sure that nothing's obstructing that from working properly. And I guess lastly, windshield wipers function properly. How often do you guys run in the rain, Brandon?
Anytime it rains, as long as it's not severe weather, lightning, that type of stuff. Yeah, we'll absolutely run in the rain.
So,
which I also want to recommend. Don't let that scare you away. It's a very good learning experience to drive in the rain on the track.
And one other thing too, talking about weather, racetrack weather is different than the weather that's forecasted. So if it's supposed to rain, sometimes it totally misses the track, and you don't get fooled by the forecast. Still come on out and have a good time.
Yeah. So windshield wipers function properly. No severe glass cracks in the windshield or windows or anything like that. And then a lot of people like to run GoPros or other video recording equipment. You got to make sure those are all secured properly on the vehicle and stuff like that. And obviously, if you're feeling comfortable doing any of these self-techs or anything like that, us at Rad Air offer to do track day inspections and we'll fill out the form for you. and get you all ready to go for a track.
Yeah, good stuff, Matt. And this year we've seen more track day inspections than if you added every other year up combined. So we enjoy doing them. There's a small charge to do them. If the folks wait with their vehicle, we actually bring you out if there's anything we want to show you while we're doing the inspection, so you're aware of it. But it's good peace of mind to know that everything's ready and good to go. And rarely do we find something that needs addressed. So don't worry that we're going to find something that needs to be addressed. If you have any tech questions, be sure and put them in the comments. Justin posted a couple more links to the inspection forms. So thank you for that, Justin. And so Brandon, you got the folks signed up. You got them to the track. Matt made sure their car is ready. Now, Marlon, it's your job to make sure that the people are prepared to what they need to bring and how to make the most out of their track day experience. So what advice do you have for them?
It will take a few minutes, but it's well worth it. Especially for you novices, you're going to be running a car for an hour. As Brandon stated earlier, we need everything out of the cabin of the car. So if you've done your self-tech and you have the form completed, make sure that all your mats are taken out. If your spare is not secure in their trunk or hatch, you need to remove it. Anything that can fly up, out, needs to be removed from the car. You don't want anything getting under your foot, especially at any track, and all of a sudden you don't have any brakes or your throttle's wide open. And for instance, if you're in Mid-Ohio going down the back straight, you'll be paying a visit to China Beach. And that's not fun. I would also recommend that, you make sure your helmet's in good condition, the straps in good conditions. Bring a plastic container to keep some of your personal items. Bring plenty of water or Pedialyte or Gatorade. Even on cool days, you will expend a lot of energy and you'll be prone to some dehydration. Even in low speed events like that, and for that hour with all the G forces and everything, you expend a lot of energy. One thing, we talked about people having GoPros and stuff. That's fine. One thing I would not recommend for novices first time, a lot of people use lap timers. As an instructor, I'm against those for novices because if you don't have fundamentals, what are you chasing? You have to learn the basics of anything before you can progress. And if you're trying to chase a time or a track record or whatever without knowing what you're doing, it's never going to work. It's not going to be to your advantage to do that. The packet comes with track maps and things of that nature. Utilize your track map. Look at videos. So we're going to be at Nelson's. Look at some videos. See where the track is going. You can go online and find a track map for Nelson Ledges, Pit Racer, any other major track in this country. Make some notes. Most things, like I said, if you've never done it before, unfortunately, Nelson doesn't have braking markers, but there are certain points on the track where there are fixed objects that instructors, Bill, Brandon, myself, and others that will be there can help you with that. Have at least one or two specific goals. If it's just learning the basics of keeping a car balanced or how to brake or how to accelerate, but have some definite goals. Just don't come out just to lap and without any purpose. That really serves as a waste of time, in my opinion. But first and foremost, have fun. Have the car ready to go. Get there, be relaxed. Get there early. Don't be late to grid, even though we have a podcast called Late to Grid. But I want you to get there and be relaxed. Even as somebody who's been doing this for well over 20 years, I try to get to grid early as possible. I have a tendency to meditate and just relax, focus on breathing. Because when I first started this, I had anxiety for my first time ever, and this was at Mid-Ohio. I didn't breathe for nearly 2 minutes because I wasn't thinking about that, because I wasn't relaxed. But you need to be relaxed when doing this. The main thing is to have fun, but plenty of water. Bring a little plastic tub to put your personal items in. If you don't have a helmet, like Brandon said, make sure there may be rentals available or not. But if not, I'm sure just reach out to us. And I think some of us, in fact, Brandon, I'll be donating 2 more helmets to you guys, just so you know. I have that for you. So somebody will more than likely have a couple helmets available. I will be at the event, so I know I'll have at least 2 additional helmets in addition to my own. But the main goal is to be proactive in this and not wait till the last minute while you're trying to run around and get all your stuff organized. So, bring a nice little cooler, have some water, have some beverages in there, bring some light snacks, and be ready to learn. It's like I said, if you don't want to do the event, touring laps is a great idea. I don't know how many people I've taken out in my cars are just doing like laps, basically at a little bit close to highway speeds, and you get the feeling of sensation. And once you get your feet wet, then yeah, you're going to be in trouble. So it's a lot of fun. It's better than a roller coaster ride at any amusement park in America, because you get to do it in your own car and safe. And lastly, I'll say this. You will become a much better driver the further you get into this. You'll be aware of things and see people do things that on the highway that you probably were doing yourselves. And one of the things we teach is how to look ahead, look way down the track. We don't even do that. Most people don't even do it on the highway. We were never taught that in driver's training or driver's education. So Track Night in America is going to give you an opportunity to develop some more skills so you'll be safer on the streets as well.
Yeah, so if you folks are watching, you have any questions, put them into the comments. Marlon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to?
No, I think we covered the closing with the safety aspects of everything. And well, one of the things is it's Chip Ganassi and Roger Penske aren't recruiting drivers at this point. So nobody's racing. There's no trophy girls. Brandon might give you a lanyard or something, but it's really no great prize. You're there to make it a point to learn and to have some fun. And if you want to take it further, develop some skills. But it's, one of the biggest questions is how fast do you go? Well, I don't care how fast you go. I once had a lady who was in her mid to late 60s. She didn't want to go any faster than 80 miles an hour. I said, well, that's fine. We can stay and go around the track at 80 miles an hour. It's your car. You drive it the way you're most comfortable with it. And so it's never about speed. Speed comes with seat time. So it's about understanding vehicle dynamics, what to do, what not to do. Everything that you learned in driver's training and driver's education basically is going out the window with what we do. So you're going to unlearn some things and get some new great habits to make you a better driver, and to see what your limitations are, what your car's limitations, and you're always going to be behind your car. So car's going to be, the newer the car, the more advanced it is, you'll take quite a while to catch up with it. So
yeah, well, it doesn't look like we have any questions, so I think we'll begin to wrap it up. We got a lot of feedback about this event ahead of time. Folks were excited for the content, wanted to learn a little bit more. I think some other areas of the country are going to do it on their own as well. A couple big takeaways for me, and then I'll turn it over to our panelists here to close it out. But a couple big takeaways is, don't overthink it. It's a fun, relaxed evening, lots of support. In fact, one thing that I noticed at the last one that I was at, you had folks at the end of the evening becoming friends. So they all came there individually, but in between sessions, they're all talking, they're doing this, and they're showing each other, here's what I was doing, or I was turning this way or that way at a certain thing. And before you know it, you make some friends, and people are all excited, and you leave super super happy and super like you accomplished something. And then if you prepare a little bit, you're going to have a great on-track experience. So anything else that we didn't talk about, gentlemen?
Well, I'm just going to piggyback off what you said. Say, for instance, like the novice group. One of the things I've always been a firm believer is you're going to be a team. So why not get to know one another? As novices, you guys are going to have to cooperate in passing zones and things of that nature. The more you know about a person and you have built that relationship or rapport just within the few hours you're going to be there, is going to help you not only off track, but on track as well.
Okay. So actually a couple questions did come in. Todd Paints asked, will a crack in my windshield disqualify my car? And according to the tech form, it's no severe glass cracks.
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit, Bill. Okay. It's really more so, does it impact, one, the safety of the car, or two, the visibility of the driver? So if you have a crack that's kind of on the passenger side, kind of down, and it's not running all the way across the windshield, you're probably okay. But if you have one that's running all the way across the windshield and it's like right in your visibility, probably not the best idea. Yeah.
And another question came in from Ryan Ritchie. He attended the May track night at Nelson Ledges as an observer. There was a 1990 something Miata, and the driver's helmet was clearly above the roll bar. How closely is this scrutinized?
I don't have a great answer to that.
Yeah.
Since the cars are all self-teched, it's really, I don't have a good answer to that one.
Yeah.
Well, I would think this way: it's your personal safety. If you know that your head's above that, then you should be responsible for your own safety. Are we going to micromanage and go out there and take broomsticks and yardsticks and take measures to do that? Unless you're like me, I will stand head and shoulders above any convertible for the most part because I'm 6 feet 5 inches tall. So with that and sitting up in a seat, I'm going to be way over it. Whereas Bill and Matt are going to be fine in their vehicle, in their Miatas. But if you're willing to risk it, then you may be an inch or 2 inches over it. Then I don't think we're going to go out there and try to get down to the millimeter. That's up to you. But think about, things do happen even at low speed. You can make a mistake and have a rollover. So again, it's your personal safety. It's your vehicle. You brought it there in one piece. We want it to go back in one piece. So there are ways to get around it. Not to get around it, but there's ways we can make adjustments. You can even switch out, take some of the padding out of the seat or things of that nature. But I don't think, like I said, Brandon, Bill, or Matt, or myself, I don't think anybody who's going to be running events is going to be running out there with a broom waving at you. Oh, no. So
if someone's chasing me with a broomstick, I'm running.
Well, I will say, though, that there are certain tracks that are much more strict on that, and they will have a safety person on site. So a lot of it does depend on the track. But at Nelson Ledges, we're a pretty small club track. It's like Marlon said, we're not going to chase you off. It's all self-tech. If it's obnoxious, then yeah, absolutely. But if it, half an inch or so, it's your personal safety.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, I don't see any other questions in there. So I think we were going through the process of anything else that you gentlemen wanted to share.
I'll just piggyback on what you said, Bill, earlier about friends. Go to the event, meet friends. Some of my best friends I've met at the racetrack. We've been friends for years and years and years now, and friends I've just met last weekend, 2 weekends ago. I just actually got a message on Instagram, just not even like 2 minutes ago, about hey, are you going to go to the next event? But yeah, so cool. Just go have fun.
Marlon and Matt, any last thoughts?
Well, no, I'll pick you back off of Brandon. I mean, you and I met at Autocross doing that, and now we do track days together. We interact, with everything we're doing for the business there. And then I met Matt. Matt works on my cars. So, but those are relationships that last a long time. I mean, Brandon needed a set of tires. We made that work. And so it's one big community. And once you build a relationship, it becomes a family, and it extends for years and years. So, as you know, I've watched Bill's daughters grow up and karting and all this stuff from knowing him from autocrossing and doing HPD events. So it's a great way to meet people and to build long-lasting relationships and friendships.
Yeah. Well, again, Brandon, Matt, Marlon, thanks very much for sharing your knowledge on track nights, car safety and teching, and then how to make the most of a track day. So thanks again.
I received great feedback about hosting this Track Night in America overview. I want to thank Brandon, Marlon, and Matt for sharing their insights and ideas. Everything they shared is so helpful. I highly encourage you to explore a Track Night in America event. These events are a great way to explore getting on track and a great way for experienced drivers to get extra seat time. A big thank you to Radar and Wickliffe, Track First, and LMS-EFI for their support of the show. Be sure to click on their links in the show notes page and show them some love on social media. Lastly, can you do me 2 favors? First, I'd love a 5-star review on wherever you are listening to this podcast. It just makes me feel good when I see those. Second, tell a friend about the show. Oh, and don't be late to grid.